The stars stretched endlessly across the night sky, glittering like scattered diamonds over the black canvas of space. On board the human starship Odyssey, Captain Elias stood at the observation deck, his hands clasped behind his back. His crew was busy with the last preparations for a mission that had already shaken the galaxy. Today, they were not just taking passengers from one planet to another. They were about to transport Princess Lyria, heir to the Zorathian Empire, a figure whose reputation alone could sway alliances and shift political tides. For years, humans had been considered a young species, full of energy and potential but often underestimated. In the courts of alien empires, humans were described as unpredictable, sometimes reckless and inexperienced. Yet here they were, tasked with a mission that not even the most technologically advanced alien fleets had been trusted with. The reason was simple and perplexing. Princess Lyria had refused every other transport and insisted, in no uncertain terms, that she would only travel on a human ship. The news had traveled fast. Communications from the Zorathian Empire arrived weeks earlier, full of confusion and some thinly veiled irritation. Captain Elias had read the messages with growing curiosity. No one could understand why the princess would choose humans over her own elite fleet. Alien couriers equipped with engines faster than light, capable of maneuvering through dangerous nebulae with precision, had all been refused. And yet, when the offer from the Odyssey arrived, Lyria had accepted without hesitation. The crew, too, felt the weight of the task. Lieutenant Mara, the ship's engineer, adjusted her tool belt nervously as she inspected the engines. "I've read her file," she said, speaking more to herself than to anyone else. "She's young, brilliant, and difficult. Some say she's almost impossible to impress." Captain Elias turned slightly, smiling faintly. "Good. Then we'll make sure we do just that. She didn't choose this ship because it's the safest or the fastest. She chose it because we think differently. That's our strength." In the quiet hum of the ship, the crew moved with purpose, preparing for a journey that would take them through uncharted sectors, past asteroid storms and close to regions where space itself could be deadly. Yet despite the risks, excitement buzzed through the air. There was something invigorating about being chosen for a mission of this magnitude, especially one that could prove to the galaxy what humans were capable of. The princess arrived in a small, sleek shuttle. She stepped aboard the Odyssey with the poise and grace that had made her the subject of countless galactic reports. Her silver and blue uniform shimmered under the deck lights, and her sharp eyes scanned the crew with a mixture of curiosity and careful calculation. For a moment, she simply stood there, silent, observing every detail. "Captain Elias," she said finally, her voice clear and commanding. "I expect efficiency, discretion, and competence. I am not accustomed to waiting, and I do not tolerate failure." Elias inclined his head. "Princess Lyria, you will find this crew more than capable. We do not promise perfection, but we promise ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Those qualities, I believe, are what you value most." Her lips curved into a small, approving smile. "Indeed. Let us begin, then." As the Odyssey left orbit, the princess walked among the crew, her eyes keenly observing each member. She asked questions about the ship's systems, the navigation controls, and the communication arrays. While her manner was polite, it was clear she expected precise and intelligent answers. Crew members exchanged glances, a mixture of pride and nervousness in their expressions. Lieutenant Mara explained the ship's engines with confidence, detailing how they could reroute energy to shield generators in emergencies. The princess nodded thoughtfully, her gaze sharp and calculating. "I see efficiency and resourcefulness. Humans seem to favor innovation over raw power." Captain Elias observed silently, recognizing a rare opportunity. Here was a princess whose intellect and judgment were unmatched. If they succeeded, the story would not only be about a successful mission, it would be about humans proving their worth on a galactic stage. The first hours of the journey were quiet, the Odyssey gliding smoothly through the outer edges of the system. The stars outside the viewing panel sparkled, and for a brief moment even the princess allowed herself a soft smile as she admired the vastness of space. Yet peace in the galaxy was rarely without interruption. A sudden alarm rang throughout the ship. Mara's voice called over the intercom, steady despite the tension. "Captain, asteroid cluster ahead. Trajectory calculations suggest a 72% chance of collision if we maintain current speed." Elias's mind raced. The asteroid field was dense, unpredictable. Most alien fleets would rely on automated systems and pre-programmed maneuvers. Humans, however, had something else: intuition and the ability to improvise. "Take manual control," he ordered. "Mara, reinforce the shields. Prepare emergency thrusters. Everyone else, brace for course adjustments." The crew moved swiftly, working together with precision. The Odyssey dove and twisted through the field, weaving around massive rocks that could easily shatter the hull of any other ship. Sensors beeped and blinked furiously, relaying countless calculations in real time. The princess watched, her eyes wide with fascination as human creativity and daring came alive in the midst of danger. For hours, they maneuvered through the asteroid storm. Every decision mattered, every action counted. Captain Elias felt a thrill he hadn't experienced in years. This was not just piloting a ship. It was testing the limits of human ingenuity against the vast, unpredictable chaos of the universe. When they finally emerged from the cluster, the ship's hull scratched but intact. A cheer erupted among the crew. The princess, however, remained silent for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she nodded, a rare smile touching her lips. "Impressive," she said. "I have never seen such adaptability, such courage. You humans do not merely follow instructions. You think, you act, and you take responsibility for your choices. That is remarkable." Elias felt a surge of pride. "Thank you, Princess. That is exactly what we promised." As the Odyssey continued its journey, the crew found themselves talking more openly with the princess. She shared stories of her empire, of the challenges she faced as a young leader, and of the expectations placed upon her by tradition and duty. In return, the humans shared their own experiences, tales of exploration, of risk-taking, and of a species that thrived on curiosity and adaptability. Night in space was different. There were no sunsets, no familiar rhythms of a planet-bound life. Yet, in the quiet of the observation deck, as stars wheeled endlessly outside, bonds began to form. The princess began to see humans not as unpredictable children of a young species, but as equals, capable of brilliance, courage, and even subtle strategy. Captain Elias noted the subtle changes in her demeanor. Where once she had been reserved, almost guarded, now she asked questions, engaged in conversation, and occasionally allowed herself moments of genuine curiosity and wonder. The crew, too, felt the transformation, their initial nervousness giving way to confidence. They were no longer simply transporting a princess, they were proving the worth of humanity to a skeptical galaxy. Hours turned into days. The Odyssey traveled through regions of space that were unexplored, filled with phenomena that defied conventional understanding. Magnetic storms disrupted sensors, strange energy waves played havoc with communication systems, and rogue asteroids tested their navigation skills. Yet through it all, humans adapted. They found solutions, improvised repairs, and faced each challenge with determination. One evening, as the ship passed a nebula that glowed with swirling colors, Princess Lyria approached Captain Elias. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "I could have chosen any fleet, any vessel with the most advanced technology and the most experienced pilots. Yet I chose this one." Elias smiled. "And why is that, Princess?" She looked out at the nebula, her eyes reflecting the vibrant colors. "Because humans do not merely follow the rules. You find ways to succeed where others see only failure. That is a rare and valuable quality, one that I respect." It was not a statement of flattery. It was an acknowledgement of human potential, of the qualities that made them capable of facing the universe not with fear, but with determination and creativity. The crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer just travelers or transporters. They were ambassadors of humanity, tasked with demonstrating what their species could achieve in the face of doubt and danger. And though the journey was only beginning, one thing was clear: Princess Lyria had chosen the right ship. Humans, unpredictable and young though they might be, were ready to rise to the challenge. The galaxy would soon see that sometimes courage, ingenuity, and adaptability were more powerful than experience, technology, or tradition. As the Odyssey glided onward, stars stretching into the infinite distance, Captain Elias knew that the first chapter of this mission had already been written in bold, unmistakable terms. Humans had proven themselves once. The universe had taken notice, and this was only the beginning. The Odyssey drifted through the cold emptiness of space, its hull glinting faintly under the distant starlight. Princess Lyria moved quietly along the main corridor, her steps measured. Yet her curiosity was evident in the way her eyes lingered on every panel, every instrument, and every crew member at work. Despite the formal training and rigid expectations of her upbringing, she found herself fascinated by humans, their energy, their boldness, and the subtle way they relied on both instinct and intelligence to solve problems. Captain Elias observed her from the bridge, a sense of pride welling inside him. This mission was no longer just about transportation. It had become a test, not only of human skill but of their ability to thrive where others might fail. And from the start, the crew had risen to the occasion. The first challenge came sooner than anyone expected. As the Odyssey approached a remote sector near the Veyron Nebula, sensors began to flicker. Strange, irregular energy readings flashed across the monitors, accompanied by minor fluctuations in gravity around the ship. The crew had never encountered anything like it before. Lieutenant Mara frowned at the readings. "Captain, these readings don't match anything in the database. The gravitational field is fluctuating, and there's a high concentration of electromagnetic pulses. If we continue at this speed, the systems could fail." The princess stepped closer, her sharp eyes scanning the instruments. "And what do you propose?" she asked. Elias took a deep breath. "We rely on calculation as far as we can, but we may need to improvise. Mara, prep the auxiliary thrusters. We may need to adjust course on instinct if the anomalies worsen." Mara's fingers flew over the control panel, rerouting energy and preparing for sudden maneuvers. The rest of the crew tightened their grips, knowing that the next few hours would test their skills like never before. As they entered the nebula, the Odyssey was buffeted by unpredictable forces. Colors shifted violently outside the viewports, swirls of purple and green punctuated by blinding flashes of light. The sensors struggled to provide stable readings, forcing the crew to rely partially on intuition and experience. Princess Lyria, standing beside Captain Elias, could feel the tension in the air. "This is unlike anything I have witnessed," she said quietly. "Even the most advanced alien fleets would hesitate here." Elias nodded. "That's why we're human. We don't hesitate. We adapt." The ship lurched as a sudden gravitational surge pulled it toward a massive cluster of crystalline formations. Each formation, sharp and jagged, could pierce the hull of any ordinary ship. The crew reacted instantly. Mara adjusted the shields, diverting additional power to reinforce the hull, while the navigators calculated a new trajectory using real-time improvisation. "Hold steady," Elias shouted, gripping the controls. "We're threading a needle through this storm." The Odyssey twisted and turned, narrowly avoiding collisions as the crystalline formations scraped against the reinforced shields. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the crew worked with seamless coordination. In the chaos, Princess Lyria felt a thrill she had never experienced in her life of protocol and predictability. Humans thrived in uncertainty, and she could see it in every movement of the crew. Hours passed as the nebula tossed the ship from one anomaly to another. The electromagnetic pulses continued to interfere with sensors, forcing the team to make decisions based on instinct. Captain Elias felt his mind working faster than ever, balancing risk with the safety of the princess and his crew. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the Odyssey emerged on the other side. The nebula lay behind them, glowing softly as the last of the electromagnetic disturbances faded. The crew let out a collective sigh, some of them laughing nervously, while Mara wiped sweat from her brow. Princess Lyria remained quiet for a moment, her eyes reflecting both relief and admiration. "Remarkable," she said finally. "You did not just survive that. You mastered it. Humans, you are unlike anything I expected." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Thank you, Princess. That is what we do. When the path is uncertain, we find a way forward." The journey continued, but the nebula had changed something. The princess no longer observed from a distance. She began to ask questions not out of protocol but out of genuine interest. She inquired about human engineering, about the philosophy behind improvisation, about how the crew made decisions in moments where failure seemed likely, and with every answer, her respect for the humans grew. One evening, as the ship passed a quiet region of space filled with drifting ice fields, the crew gathered in the common area. Lyria took a seat among them, unusual for a princess accustomed to formality and distance. "Tell me," she asked, "how do humans remain calm when everything seems uncertain? I have seen fleets panic, systems fail, and yet you're You approach it as if it were a challenge to be solved, not a threat to be feared. Lieutenant Mara leaned forward. We've learned that fear is a tool, not a limitation. If we let it control us, we fail. If we use it to focus, to guide decisions, it becomes strength. Humans are always adapting, always learning. Lyria nodded thoughtfully. Then perhaps that is why I chose this ship. Not because it is the most advanced, but because it contains something far rarer. Judgment, courage, and the ability to act when others hesitate. Captain Elias felt a warmth of pride. This was more than praise. It was acknowledgement that humanity could hold its own among the stars, even in the face of civilizations far older and more powerful. But the calm did not last long. A sudden alert flashed across the main console. An uncharted energy field was ahead, pulsing unpredictably, large enough to disrupt navigation and communications. The reading suggested that if the ship entered the field at its current speed, critical systems would fail, possibly stranding them in deep space. Captain, Mara said, her voice steady but tense, this is serious. The field is unstable, sensors cannot predict its behavior, and our instruments are already showing interference. Elias considered the options. Alien fleets would likely retreat, awaiting reinforcements or mapping the energy field over weeks. Humans, however, had a different approach. Prepare for a manual course adjustment, he ordered. We're going in. We'll study it as we move, respond to changes instantly, and rely on human judgment. Princess Lyria's eyes gleamed with interest. You would risk everything. The ship, the crew, your passengers? Not risk everything, Elias said calmly. We face danger, yes, but humans do not see danger as an end point. We see it as a test, an opportunity to excel where others might fail. The Odyssey approached the energy field cautiously, sensors flickering in response to the powerful pulses. The ship shuddered as it entered the unstable zone, systems warning repeatedly of potential failures. The crew worked like a single organism, anticipating each surge, adjusting shields, redirecting energy, and calculating trajectories in real time. Hours passed, and the intensity of the energy field increased. It was as if space itself was testing them, stretching the limits of their skill and endurance. Yet, time and again, humans adapted. When one system faltered, another was rerouted. When one approach failed, the crew quickly devised an alternative. Princess Lyria watched in awe, noting every decision, every moment of ingenuity. By the time the ship emerged from the field, the stars outside seemed calmer, almost serene. The crew was exhausted but exhilarated. Lyria approached Captain Elias, her expression uncharacteristically open. You have shown me something extraordinary. Not just courage, not just skill, but the essence of humanity itself. You do not merely survive the unknown, you master it. Elias nodded. That is what we do, Princess. We face the universe and keep moving forward. That is who we are. For the first time, Lyria allowed herself a small, genuine smile. The walls she had built around her expectations and her skepticism were beginning to crumble. She had seen humans in their element, unafraid, resourceful, and courageous. She had seen them not as young or inexperienced, but as equal, capable, and perhaps even exceptional. The days that followed were quieter, though the ship remained alert for hazards. The princess continued to walk among the crew, asking questions, sharing observations, and sometimes simply watching, as humans worked with confidence and ingenuity. She found herself laughing softly at their humor, marveling at their camaraderie, and feeling a sense of kinship she had never expected to experience with any species. And through it all, Captain Elias knew that the Odyssey had done more than survive. They had earned trust, respect, and a place in the heart of one of the most influential figures in the galaxy. Humanity had shown its worth not through brute strength or overwhelming technology, but through intelligence, creativity, courage, and a willingness to act when Princess Lyria, once distant and formal, now seemed almost part of the crew. She offered insights during strategy sessions, suggested improvements to the ship's operations, and sometimes simply shared stories of her own experiences, bridging the gap between alien royalty and human explorers. And every time she spoke, she acknowledged the value of human perspective. As the Odyssey continued toward its next destination, the stars stretched endlessly ahead, holding challenges yet unseen, dangers yet untested, and opportunities yet unexplored. The galaxy was vast, uncertain, and at times unforgiving. But humans had shown that where others saw obstacles, they saw opportunity, and where others hesitated. The Odyssey sailed further into uncharted space, leaving behind familiar stars and predictable paths. The crew had grown accustomed to the unpredictable nature of the galaxy, but no one could have prepared for what awaited them in the dark sector known as the Veil of Shadows. This region was infamous in galactic lore, a place where gravitational anomalies, rogue asteroids, and energy storms made travel nearly impossible. No fleet had attempted it in decades, and those that had never returned. Captain Elias studied the navigational charts with a steady hand. "Sensors indicate an unstable black hole ahead," he said, his voice calm but firm. The readings flickered and shifted, making accurate calculations difficult. "We cannot detour, it would add weeks to our journey. But we can't ignore the risk. Mara, prepare all auxiliary systems. Everyone, brace for potential turbulence." Princess Lyria, standing beside him, observed with an intensity that made even seasoned crew members uneasy. "A black hole?" she asked. "Most fleets would avoid this entirely. Why risk it?" "Because," Elias replied, "we are not most fleets. We adapt, improvise, and act when others hesitate. That is how humans face the universe." The princess regarded him silently for a moment, then nodded. "I trust your judgment." Her voice carried a rare sincerity, a sign that she was beginning to see humans in a new light. The Odyssey approached the black hole carefully. Its immense gravitational pull distorted space around them, bending light in strange patterns and causing sensors to flicker uncontrollably. The crew's faces were tense but determined. Every calculation mattered. One wrong move could send them spiraling into the void. "Divert all power to the forward thrusters," Elias commanded. "Mara, reinforce the shields. We'll use the gravitational pull to slingshot past it, but we need precision and timing." Mara worked quickly, rerouting energy and making adjustments that only a human could improvise on the fly. While alien fleets relied solely on pre-programmed responses, the Odyssey's crew combined instinct, experience, and quick thinking to navigate what seemed impossible. Princess Lyria leaned closer to the control panel, her eyes wide with focus. This is extraordinary. Your species does not just survive danger, you master it." Elias glanced at her. "It's not mastery without trust. Trust in our abilities, trust in each other, and trust in the process." As they neared the black hole, a massive energy wave erupted from its surface, striking the Odyssey. The ship shuddered violently, throwing some crew members against consoles. Warning lights flashed as systems began to overload, shields at 60%. "Thrusters are fluctuating," Mara shouted, her hands flying over controls. Elias's mind raced. There was no time to consult databases or call for external advice. They had to act immediately. He made a split-second decision, redirecting energy from non-essential systems to the shields and stabilizers. The ship groaned but held its integrity. Princess Lyria's voice rang out, calm yet commanding. "Captain, if we angle the ship at 33 degrees relative to the gravitational pull, it should give us the slingshot we need without overloading the shields." Elias's eyes widened. "Impressive. Calculating now." He adjusted the controls based on her suggestion, and the Odyssey responded beautifully, twisting through the energy wave as if dancing with the forces around them. The crew gasped in unison. The ship was holding steady, maneuvering with precision that belied the danger they were in. This was not luck, it was skill, intuition, and teamwork at its finest. Hours passed as the black hole's influence tugged at the Odyssey, forcing constant adjustments. The princess continued to observe, her admiration growing. She had seen fleets falter, machines fail, and crews panic, yet here humans remained calm, agile, and resilient. "Captain," she said quietly, "your crew, your species, it is unlike anything I have witnessed. You do not yield to the impossible. You challenge it, and often you succeed." Elias gave a small smile, not taking his eyes off the instruments. "We are not perfect, Princess. We make mistakes, but we learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. That is what sets us apart." As the black hole's pull began to lessen, another challenge emerged. Debris from a destroyed ship, remnants left in the gravitational wake, threatened to collide with them at high velocity. The sensors were erratic due to the black hole's lingering effects, leaving the crew with very little time to react. Lieutenant Jarek, the navigator, called out urgently, "Captain, we have multiple large objects on collision course. Automated avoidance may not react fast enough. Elias's jaw tightened. Manual override. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Everyone, follow protocol but be ready to improvise. The Odyssey twisted and dove through the debris, shields absorbing impacts that could have destroyed lesser ships. The crew's teamwork was flawless, each member anticipating the next move, communicating instantly and responding with ingenuity. Princess Lyria watched, her respect deepening. These humans were not just pilots. They were tacticians, engineers, and improvisers all in one. Hours later, after navigating the black hole and surviving the debris, the Odyssey emerged into open space. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, calm and steady once more. The crew slumped in exhaustion, but their eyes shone with exhilaration. They had faced a challenge that no other fleet dared approach, and they had succeeded. Princess Lyria stepped forward, her expression a mix of awe and admiration. I have witnessed fleets fail. I have seen ships lost to forces beyond comprehension, and yet here you are. You have not only survived, you have prevailed. Humans, you are extraordinary. Elias bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Princess. That is the nature of humanity. When faced with the unknown, we do not hesitate. We think, we act, and we adapt. That is how we thrive. Lyria's gaze swept across the crew, and you have demonstrated it, every one of you. This mission, this journey, has proven that humans are more than capable. You embody courage, creativity, and resilience in ways that cannot be measured by technology alone. The crew felt a swell of pride. They had faced death, uncertainty, and forces that could have ended their lives in an instant. Yet they had overcome every obstacle through intelligence, teamwork, and the indomitable human spirit. In that moment, the princess recognized them not as a young species still learning its way in the galaxy, but as equals, powerful, resourceful, and worthy of respect. For the first time, she allowed herself a small, genuine smile. I chose this ship, she said softly. Not because it is the fastest or the most advanced, but because it contains something rare. It contains the courage and ingenuity of humanity. And I am glad I did, Elias nodded. And we are honored that you trusted us with your journey. The days that followed were calmer, but the bond between the humans and Princess Lyria had changed. She was no longer a distant figure observing from afar. She was part of the crew, sharing insights, asking questions, and occasionally suggesting solutions that reflected her sharp mind and strategic thinking. The crew, in turn, treated her with respect, valuing her intelligence while remaining confident in their abilities. As the Odyssey glided through starfields and past glowing nebulae, the princess took a moment to reflect. She had traveled with countless fleets, seen countless crews, and experienced the precision of the most advanced technology the galaxy had to offer. Yet none of them had shown what she had witnessed on this human ship. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in that unpredictability lay strength. They thought differently, acted decisively, and refused to be constrained by fear or convention. And in that realization, Lyria began to understand why she had insisted on traveling aboard the Odyssey. It was not about safety, speed, or comfort. It was about potential. Humanity was young, yes. But within that youth was creativity, courage, and a spirit that could face the universe itself and not just survive, but thrive. The crew, exhausted yet exhilarated, continued their journey, unaware that their actions were already reshaping the princess's perception of an entire species. Where others had doubted, she now saw possibility. Where others had feared, they had acted. And where others would have failed, humans had triumphed. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities yet to be discovered. And the Odyssey, with its crew of humans and their remarkable princess, was moving forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had faced the black hole, survived the debris, and emerged stronger. Humanity's place in the galaxy was being rewritten, one daring mission at a time. Princess Lyria, standing beside Captain Elias on the observation deck, watched the stars stretch into infinity. This is only the beginning, she said quietly. And I intend to see just how far your species can go. Elias smiled. As far as we choose to go, Princess. The universe is vast and humans are just getting started. For the first time, the princess felt a sense of excitement she had never known. She was no longer merely traveling. She was witnessing a species rise to its potential, proving that courage, ingenuity, and determination could change the course of history. And she knew without a doubt that humans were capable of extraordinary things. far beyond what anyone in the galaxy had yet imagined. The Odyssey drifted steadily toward the summit planet, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. The journey that had begun as a routine mission had become a testament to human courage, ingenuity, and determination. Captain Elias stood on the bridge, surveying the crew as they prepared for the final approach. Each member moved with purpose, but there was a quiet sense of anticipation in the air. This was not just the end of their journey. It was the moment where humanity's reputation in the galaxy would be put to the ultimate test. Princess Lyria, standing beside him, had changed since the mission began. The once formal and distant princess had grown closer to the crew, observing their skills, sharing in their triumphs, and even offering insights during critical moments. Her eyes now held a mixture of respect and admiration, a reflection of what she had witnessed. Humans not as young, unpredictable beings, but as innovators, strategists, and problem-solvers capable of facing the universe's greatest challenges. "Captain," she said quietly, "the summit awaits. I expect protocol and ceremony, but I also expect the Council to understand what they have overlooked." "Humanity is not what they think it is," Elias nodded. "Then let's make sure they see it for themselves." As the Odyssey entered the planet's orbit, alien fleets from dozens of civilizations lined the sky. Their sleek ships, polished to perfection, were designed to impress and intimidate. Many of the commanders and diplomats exchanged skeptical glances at the human vessel, noting its relative simplicity compared to the massive, heavily armed alien fleets. But the princess had already made her choice, and her presence aboard the Odyssey sent a clear message. Humans were to be taken seriously. The landing procedure was precise. The crew coordinated flawlessly, navigating the planet's dense atmosphere with skill and confidence. As the ship touched down on the summit platform, alarms and sensors indicated no problems, yet the tension was palpable. All eyes turned to the humans. Would they falter at the final stage, or would their ingenuity prevail once more? The doors of the Odyssey opened and Princess Lyria stepped forward, her posture regal yet approachable. Behind her, Captain Elias and the crew followed, standing tall and composed. The assembled council and dignitaries looked on with a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and cautious interest. Lyria raised her hand for attention. "Esteemed members of the Interstellar Council," she began, her voice carrying clearly across the summit chamber. "I have traveled with the human crew aboard the Starship Odyssey across sectors that are considered impossible and dangerous by even the most advanced fleets. I have witnessed their courage, their ingenuity, and their ability to adapt where others would falter. They have faced challenges that would have destroyed others, yet they persevered. And I am here to tell you, humanity is extraordinary." Whispers spread through the council chambers. Many had assumed the princess's decision was symbolic, a trivial preference. Now they could see that her words carried weight. The humans had earned not only her respect, but her endorsement in a way that no speech or demonstration could replicate. Captain Elias stepped forward, his calm presence commanding attention. "We are honored to have transported Princess Lyria safely, and to have faced the challenges of space with her guidance. Our species has relied on ingenuity, teamwork, and adaptability to overcome obstacles. We do not claim to be the strongest, nor the most technologically advanced, but we do claim to be capable, determined, and ready to face whatever the galaxy throws at us." The council members regarded him with a mixture of surprise and newfound respect. Few had expected such confidence and clarity from humans, and fewer still had seen evidence of it firsthand. The stories of the black hole, the nebula, and the energy field had already begun to circulate, but hearing it from the captain himself gave it a tangible reality. One of the senior dignitaries, an alien with scales of deep green and golden eyes, leaned forward. "You speak boldly for a young species. Are you certain that your abilities match your claims?" Elias met the gaze without hesitation. "I am. We may be young, but we are resilient. We learn quickly, adapt constantly, and do not surrender to fear. We thrive in the unknown, not because it is safe, but because we rise to meet it." Princess Lyria smiled, a rare warmth in her expression. She stepped closer to the humans. "It is no exaggeration," she said. "I have seen what they are capable of. I have witnessed their skill, their courage, and their unyielding determination. Humanity is ready to take its place among the respected civilizations of the galaxy." The council was silent for a moment, processing her words. Slowly, nods began to spread. The alien fleets that had watched the Odyssey with skepticism now recognized the value of human ingenuity. Where they had seen a simple ship, they now saw a symbol of potential and resilience. Lyria continued, "I propose an initiative. Let humanity contribute to interstellar projects, serve as advisors in crises, and participate in missions where innovation and adaptability are required. They have proven themselves not only to me, but to the galaxy." The room erupted in murmurs and quiet discussion. Some council members still hesitated, wary of the unpredictability of humans, but the evidence and the princess's endorsement were undeniable. The tide of opinion was shifting. As discussions continued, the crew of the Odyssey remained composed. They had faced dangers beyond imagination and survived. Now, they were witnessing the recognition of their efforts, not as mere luck or coincidence, but as the result of skill, courage, and the uniquely human ability to overcome impossible odds. Princess Lyria turned to the crew, her voice soft but firm. "Your actions have changed perceptions. You have not only transported me safely, but have shown the galaxy what humans can achieve. Remember this, for it is the beginning of a new chapter." The crew exchanged glances, pride and humility mixing in equal measure. Lieutenant Mara whispered to a fellow crew member, "We did it. Not for glory, not for reward, but to prove ourselves." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Yes, Mara, and the universe will remember it." After the formal proceedings, the humans were invited to a private audience with Princess Lyria. She spoke of her admiration, not just for their skill, but for their character, teamwork, and courage. "You are more than I imagined," she said. "Your species is not only capable, it is remarkable. I trust you will continue to rise wherever the universe takes you." The humans, in turn, shared their gratitude, acknowledging that the princess had trusted them when others might have doubted. Her choice had allowed them to demonstrate their true potential, and in doing so, they had not only succeeded in their mission, but had also begun to shape how humanity would be perceived across the stars. As the summit concluded, the Odyssey prepared for departure. The princess returned to the ship, walking among the crew with a newfound warmth. "Captain Elias, this journey has shown me more than I could have imagined. Humans are capable of facing the unknown and succeeding. I will advocate for your species, ensuring that the galaxy sees the value in what you bring." Elias nodded. "Thank you, Princess. Our journey is far from over, but with allies like you, the possibilities are endless." The Odyssey lifted off, leaving the summit planet behind. As they sailed through the stars, the crew reflected on everything they had accomplished, the dangers they had faced, the challenges they had overcome, and the respect they had earned. They were more than travelers. They were ambassadors, proving to the galaxy that humanity's courage and ingenuity could stand alongside the most advanced civilizations. Princess Lyria watched from the observation deck, her gaze sweeping across the endless expanse of stars. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "Humans have shown that they can rise to any challenge. I look forward to seeing just how far they can go." The crew smiled, knowing that the journey ahead would hold even greater challenges, yet feeling confident in their ability to face them. Humanity had proven itself once, and the galaxy was beginning to take notice. As the Odyssey continued its voyage, the stars stretched infinitely, a canvas of endless opportunity. Humans had faced the impossible, triumphed where others would fail, and earned the respect of one of the galaxy's most influential leaders. They had shown that courage, ingenuity, and determination were more powerful than age, technology, or convention. And in that moment, as the ship glided through the infinite expanse, Captain Elias knew that humanity's story was just beginning. The universe was vast, full of dangers, wonders, and possibilities, but humans were ready. They had proven themselves. They had survived the impossible. They had triumphed, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.